Hey guys, Wyatt Claypool here. I was inevitably going to have to comment on what is going on currently in British Columbia politics with the BC Conservative Party, which is a liberal woke takeover of the leadership of that party. Most of the remaining BC Conservative MLAs are, in fact, true conservatives. The problem with the deal that was struck between the BC Conservatives and the BC United that I was actually warning about before the election was that you end up bringing in some liberal MLAs who really don't add much to the party's brand but could cause problems in the future. I was even saying that United actually sticking around for the election would probably have helped the BC Conservatives do better. But right now, because there are woke liberal MLAs who throw their weight around in caucus and online, they ended up getting an actual really good conservative MLA booted from caucus for saying true things about the Kamloops residential school and the lack of 215 dead children outside of it. It's disgusting to me that there seems to be activists almost cheering on the idea of having dead children. I think that we should hope it's not true, and it appears not to be true. But BC Conservative MLA for Vancouver Quilchena, Dallas Brodie, was kicked out of caucus for taking up this issue because people, lawyers in the Law Society, were being attacked by the Law Society for requesting changes to their resources that say there are 215 bodies found at the Kamloops Residential School. You know, lawyers are supposed to value truth. And for some reason, the Law Society was smearing lawyers for pointing out the truth and wanting modifications to the resources to just say that they found anomalies or that there might be potentially bodies because they've never found any, even after $8 million put towards a search, which probably was never actually spent on a search. But this video is both about the controversy as well as the root problem that's going on. The root problem, to cut to the chase, is MLAs like Amelia Boultbee. She is the MLA for Penticton Summerlands. She is not conservative at all. I am being very firm about that. I do not know why this person is currently in caucus. In fact, she only barely won in the 2024 provincial election despite being in an extremely easy seat. I look at this. I was just looking at this before I started recording. She won by a little bit more than 1% of the vote, 11,612 votes to 11,296. And then you did have a independent also running, who, by the way, was not an incumbent BC United independent that decided to run just to disrupt things. This person ran anyways because they didn't like the options on the table. This person used to be the United candidate, but ended up sticking it out, replacing all the United branding on their signs and just running as an independent. And Amelia barely won. Look at this. Back in 2020, the redistributed results so that it's the exact same boundaries that they currently are today. The Liberal, who in fact used to be the center-right option in BC, the BC Liberals were like the big tent center-left to center-right party. The Liberals won 47% of the vote here. They won 48% last time, usually beating the NDP by 10 points. In 2017, Dan Ashton beat his NDP opponent 52% to 28%. This was an election that the BC Liberals, in fact, lost, and that's when the NDP and Green coalition government came into play. And they still won the seat with like double digits extra votes. Wild. But the problem is here is that the reason why Amelia Boultbee almost barely won, almost lost, was because she's not actually conservative. If you look into her background, there's nothing really to suggest back when she was a counselor in Penticton or whatever city she's specifically from that suggests that she's a stalwart conservative. And now I want to show you some stuff that she's been posting, as well as getting to the smears that John Rustad has leveled against Dallas Brodie's former colleague and friend. But this is the sort of things that she was posting on her Facebook back in 2022. Elect more women. Now, you can want, as a passive view, more women to be in politics, but this is a post with the, leftist fist symbol, and it is saying that we should elect more women as a value in and of itself, not, women who believe in conservative ideals or men who believe in conservative ideals. I don't care who gets elected. I want them to be conservatives. Be worried about anyone who cares about the demographics of people who are being elected. Look at this post. This was in response to Amelia Boultbee posting some really petty, sort of passive aggressive stuff about Dallas Brodie being kicked out of a caucus. She was then followed, rightfully so, by Tara Armstrong and Jordan Keeley, who left with her, saying that the party is going to betray conservatives, so I don't feel comfortable just seeing Dallas Brodie leave. I think that she needs some company, which is the right thing to do. John Rustad and his HQ of very progressive people, or people who don't really care about conservatism that much, bought this terrible situation, and they deserve every penny's worth. This person confronted her over her very passive aggressive post about the situation. This guy, Ouch Kanda Mark, who I'll just call Mark from here, says, "You should try and learn something from the ratio on this post." I did see it was a pretty bad ratio. He said, "All of us who voted for your party are siding with Dallas Brodie. You are acting like the NDP in your efforts to shame and silence someone that spoke the truth. Be ashamed, all of you sellouts." Amelia Boultbee says, "If you're like Dallas, then I don't want your vote. Keep it." What is Dallas? She is a terrible enough person to imply that Dallas is a racist, because Dallas was mimicking people that were attacking her for a week and a half about the fact that they don't believe in the truth. But Dallas has never attacked anyone. She's not racist. She's not anything. She's an incredibly nice person. I'm going to show you that podcast clip that John Rustad then cuts out of context, because he knows he's wrong. And so he could only post a 3.5-second clip to try and smear Dallas to justify getting rid of her. But imagine that. If you're like that, Dallas, then I don't want your vote. So we have a BC conservative MLA saying, if you're an orthodox conservative, a social and fiscal conservative like Dallas Brodie or Jordan Keeley or Tara Armstrong, then don't vote for the party. That's absurd. In fact, this is true. It's so stupid. I don't need to bring it up on screen because it's not really much to look at. Tara Armstrong posted on her own personal Facebook page a photo of her standing with Dallas Brodie and Jordan Keeley. Again, 3 great MLAs. In fact, Tara Armstrong had a great question in the legislature today confronting the BC NDP for constantly talking about Trump and his tariffs. And I don't like the tariffs. She doesn't like them either. But they'll never mention China. All the tariffs that China has on BC products, the fact that China interferes in our elections, the fact that there are CCP affiliated people that are floating around David Eby's office. They'll never bring up China, but it's Trump, Trump, Trump all the time. But the thing is that Amelia Boultbee, after Tara Armstrong just posts a photo with her and Dallas and Jordan, gets in the comment section and starts attacking her. You guys aren't blue conservatives. You guys aren't anything. You guys are losers and you're betraying people. She also has a bit of a reputation for calling people losers. Is this one? Yeah, this was another person commenting on her very passive-aggressive post saying, we should all get back to work. Who cares about the 3 people who are gone now? We need to fight the NDP. And this person says, not worth much. And Amelia Boultbee says, unfollow me then, loser. Because do you think truly, after looking at anything that Amelia Boultbee has posted, that it was Dallas Brodie who was the problem inside the BC Conservative caucus? Dallas Brodie is a pretty low-key personality. She is not a flailer. She doesn't throw hands or anything. Do you think the problem was Dallas or this psycho running around and having to comment under Tara's personal Facebook posts to attack her? In fact, that's why I brought up her voting results. In her post going after Tara, I called out the fact that she almost lost that very easy riding of Penticton Summerlands, and maybe she should be a little bit more humble. And she called it a historic victory because it was a historic victory because I also had to take on an independent. Nobody votes for an unaffiliated independent who was not an incumbent unless the options on the board suck. You are a bad option with a bad attitude, and that's why you almost lost. In fact, Amelia Boultbee is such a bully that this Tracy St. Clair lady who was running as an independent received a legal letter from Amelia's lawyer trying to intimidate her into stop campaigning because Amelia can't get people to like herself, so she needs her opponents to leave the room. Absolutely stupid. I need to show you something else. It'll take me a second to get this up on screen because it just ended up dropping off right when I tried to pull it up. Amelia, back when she was campaigning to be the MLA, there was a pride event that happened in the summer that she attended with some BC conservative volunteers. And SOS Pride in Penticton banned them from showing up, basically said, you guys aren't allowed to be here. They condemned the BC Conservatives for wearing BC Conservative shirts and showing up. And, you would assume a pride organization would be cool if Conservatives showed up and were cool with them. Obviously, Conservatives aren't going to attack gay people, but that's a stupid leftist talking point to try and attack Conservatives. But Amelia Boultbee, instead of standing by her people and resisting the smear, she leans into the smear. Look at this. This was on June 4th, 2024. She says, "Hi all. I'd like to make a statement in response to the post made today by SOS Pride and the comments online from yesterday. I am very sorry that myself and my volunteers team's attendance at the Pride Parade has caused distress. It was certainly not intended, and no one at any time conveyed us that we were not welcome to attend until after the fact. Our intention being there was a positive one, and I am sad that has not been taken in the spirit on which it was intended, blah, 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 blah." And then she starts to go on a little bit about how SOS Pride is inaccurate in their statements. You're a pathetic coward. You can't stand up for your own party brand when the Pride organization comes after you, who you should know by this point are leftists. They don't care about your groveling, woke, penance that you're giving them. All they want is they want you to lose. And you were dumb enough to steer into them attacking you by saying, "We apologize, we made people uncomfortable." They weren't uncomfortable. They just hate conservatives. So why are you backing down? Who could have guessed why Amelia Boultbee then wanted Dallas Brodie kicked out? I want to show the clip that John Rusted now posted to try and smear Dallas when she left caucus and she was basically saying, "I stood up for the truth and I was kicked out." Look, this is John, who I would have used to have counted as somebody that I thought was a good guy. I'm not sure if I can do that anymore. I think he sometimes does good things, but whenever it seems like his team's advising him on exactly what to say, he says silly crap. Well, look at this. So Dallas said, "I spoke the truth because it matters. I will never back down from it," and talking about how absolutely there are no bodies in Kamloops. Remember that John previously tried to force her to delete her initial posts about Kamloops and tried to make her apologize. John says, "Correct, Dallas. The number of bodies unearthed at Kamloops is 0. However, your departure from caucus was based on your choice to go on a podcast and mocked victims of molestation and abuse from residential schools, telling their stories and truths, as you put it. Here is the video." The video he posts is 3.5 seconds. Does that seem fair to you? Does this seem like he is being fair with the evidence? She was on that podcast speaking for about 25 minutes, and he has found 3.5 seconds. This is what she said in that 3.5 seconds. Even then, do you get the impression she was mocking molestation victims?
Okay. This whole thing about my truth and your truth, my truth. Okay.
She was mocking the activists who had been attacking her in a Maoist-style struggle session for over a week and a half. John Rusted refused to stand with her, tried to make her apologize for saying something that he now acknowledges is in fact true, and then he throws out this 3.5 second clip in which if you took the previous 10 seconds or the 10 seconds following that, it would have been very clear she is talking about the activists attacking her that are trying to contradict the idea that there were bodies found. There were no bodies found, and Dallas is mocking those who would attack her and attack her character for saying the true thing. This has nothing to do with victims. In fact, those who are attacking victims are the left-wing activists, the NDP and the BC Conservatives, who go along with the lie that Dallas Brodie was mocking people because she was talking about the lie of the bodies. And if you are then going to even bring up an actual tragic, disgusting thing that happened that Dallas would not deny and thinks is evil, then you are cheapening that actual story, trying to stand up to a lie. Dallas's general point was that she's tired of when she says something true, you get a bunch of activists saying, "Well, it's my truth that there's bodies there," because that doesn't mean anything. Nobody at any point, do you actually think anyone would have been stupid enough to mock victims? Even John knows that she wasn't stupid enough to do that. That's why he had to cut it to 3.5 seconds. John, figure it out. Are we winning yet, John? By kicking out Dallas and having Tara and Jordan leave? Well, they didn't have to leave with her. Yes, they did, because they're moral individuals. And I know from talking to many MLAs still currently in the caucus, they think John and Azim Jawani, as chief of staff, are responsible for all of this. And they're ticked. Yes, there are wokies like Amelia Boultbee and Eleanor Sturko and Alia Warbus. They can be mad at Dallas Brodie for saying conservative things. In fact, I know some of these people go and yell at MLAs still in this last few days. But if they say something too conservative, they'll get a big earful from one of these people because I can't believe you said that. Don't you know that that's offensive? Because they're just saying something conservative that their entire base agrees with. Ridiculous. Anyways, but this went on, and like she went back and forth with that Mark guy I showed earlier, basically standing up for the truth that Dallas was not wrong and she was not mocking victims. And Amelia tries to slander her by implying, doubling down on the lie that Dallas was criticizing molestation victims. Obviously not. Anyways, so I want to get to something else now regarding all this garbage going on. By the way, Amelia Boultbee, based on things being taken out of context about people, should watch out because her previous counselor friend's criminal record that she didn't really condemn until after he was seriously charged, that could come and bite you if anyone wanted to use as little context as you did. I'm being very vague here, but I don't think you did anything wrong. But the whole point is that, do you think the BC NDP would care? Do you think activists would care if they come and attack you? She's been attacked wrongly in the past too. And I would stand with Amelia Boultbee when she was wrongly attacked. A person who actually tried to attack Dallas Brodie that I found was very disgusting was Chris Sankey. He was the candidate for, I think it was North Coast Haida Gwaii. The very NDP riding. Good thing Chris ran because he knew he was going to lose, but it helps the conservative movement to have strong candidates even in riding like that. I thought he was a pretty good candidate. He attacks Dallas Brodie as like trying to attack Native people or whatever. At the same time, wasn't he the guy that David Eby smeared as an anti-vaxxer and people like Dallas Brodie and Tara Armstrong and Jordan Keeley stood up for? But he's not going to stand up for Dallas Brodie because he lacks character. Chris Sankey is of low character. And so he would come in and attack Dallas Brodie over something false that Dallas is correct about, and she's just being smeared for by being taken out of context with 3.5-second clips. He's willing to go along with that because, again, he has not an ounce of character of as a person. Anyways, but I need to highlight this new issue here because, do you guys know about this new problem that's going on regarding the UBC Student Union not letting an actual conservative party club be founded because apparently that would be racist and transphobic or whatever? Check out this. This was a post by Jonathan Kay. He was obviously forwarded an email by the people who tried to start this club. I believe he writes for the National Post still. Jonathan Kay says the student union at the UBC Okanagan, I guess this is not the full UBC, denied an application for a student conservative party club, and amazingly, the student union VP internal flat out admitted that the decision was made on the basis of partisan politics considerations. Look at this. I'm just going to read you this one section. It says, to clarify the board's decision, there was differing opinions among directors. Some were in favor of ratifying the club, considering Kelowna's conservative presence and the opportunity for political debates featuring various perspectives. However, concerns were raised regarding the political stance of your party, of the party your club would represent. Rather than the club itself specifically, some directors were concerned the certain views associated with the party, particularly regarding Black and LGBTQ plus communities, could make students from these groups feel excluded or unwelcome. Now, I don't need to tell you that that's complete nonsense. Obviously, there's no racists or people wanting to hurt gay people inside the Conservative Party, but they use this as a nonsensical reason to deny the application in the student union to create a Conservative Party club. Student union doesn't have to participate in it. They just have to let the party club be, in existence, that they have their own account and they can get the minimum amounts of money that clubs usually get from the student union initially when they start up. But yeah, ridiculous crap. Jonathan Kay did good work by helping expose this with probably the help of the student union club or the conservative club that was denied. But John Rusted had the gall, the audacity to quote tweet Jonathan Kay and say, this is inevitable. This is the inevitable result of the out-of-control radical leftist activism in BC's academia. No woke activist student council should be allowed to determine which political party students can join or associate with. UBCO students must be allowed to opt out of union dues for their broken woke union. I agree with John. But John doesn't agree with John because he's willing to smear people as racist and transphobic and all this stuff when it suits him. And rightfully so, Jonathan Kay called this crap out. He says, thanks for the quote tweet, John. Now go apologize to Dallas Brodie for throwing her under the bus after she spoke the truth about Kamloops. What you do and your fellow party members did to her was unconscionable. That's a hard word for me. Sorry, unconscionable. You guys get my point. It was wrong. That's one of those like tongue twister words. But he's absolutely right. Imagine John Rusted coming out and condemning this UBC Okanagan Student Union for not letting a conservative club form at the same time that they kicked out Dallas Brodie for saying something true and then being twisted out of context by leftist activists. You got to choose a lane, people. Here's a new thing that's come up too that I think should be highlighted, because this is demonstrating that the NDP realizes how weak the Conservatives are right now with their commitment to back up their own MLAs. One of the BC Conservative MLAs that was actually elected on the island is Dr. Anna Kindy. And she was recently speaking at a We Unify event in BC. Clyde Do Something was there. I really like him. Dr. William Mackos was there. I don't particularly like him because of background stuff I've dealt with him. He started off good, calling out mandates and whatnot, but he's kind of devolved into silly stuff around AHS, doesn't want to admit to the truth because there's pedophiles there. It's stupid. He had a point initially, and I think he's gone a bit nuts. But Anna Kindy went there because she was invited, and that's perfectly fine. She was invited to speak at this series about, just whatnot, like just about a bunch of conservative type topics. And Ravi Parmar from the NDP talks about the fact that Peter Millibar, who is a BC Conservative MLA, who's also very woke and left, and he attacked Dallas Brodie for what she said. He says, 9 months ago, Peter Millibar called We Unify racist and called on John Rusted to denounce them. On Tuesday, Dr. Kindy spoke on a We Unify panel alongside a radical anti-vaxxer and a Trump apologist. And I correctly pointed out, when is the struggle session against Anna Kindy going to start up in the BC Conservative Party now? Because apparently doing something not wrong, and I don't think it's wrong to be on a panel with William Mackos, especially I know a lot of background about him, which makes me not want to associate with him. I was actually the first one to ever write an article covering what he was saying about AHS back when he was making rational points that he was kicked out of as a radiologist, oncologist for basically stupid HR reasons. He seems like he could be a volatile person, but overall, it sounded like stupid HR reasons as to why he was kicked out, and that rightfully or wrongly, AHS is now denying cancer patients the ability to get screened because one of their very few people who do cancer screenings has been laid off. But anyways, yeah, I wouldn't sit on a panel with him today, but unless you know all the other background of what he says in Alberta, you wouldn't know not to sit on the panel with him, and I don't blame anyone for sitting on that panel. Anna Kindy didn't do anything wrong. But again, based on the standards in which they used to throw out Dallas Brodie, why don't they throw out her now? I don't want them to. I think Anna Kindy's a good person and a very good candidate. She has a background that is extremely, extremely sympathetic and makes you think she is a deeply courageous individual for having run in that riding that she did and won. She's a great candidate, and I hope she sticks around. But think about this. The NDP knows there's blood in the water. Even David Eby has already said on tape that, I thank John Rusted for getting rid of Dallas. It was long overdue. He should have done it sooner. And then he even said there's many other MLAs they should be getting rid of. I'd almost like him to release that list. Now we know Anna Kindy's also on that list. Which other people are the NDP planning on going after that I have no confidence that Azim Jawani, the chief of staff of John Rusted, will let John Rusted defend them? In fact, they'll probably feed them under the bus. This is the problem. If you want a conservative movement to have traction in BC, it has to be real. It cannot be a bunch of united people saying the bare minimum conservative stuff to keep their base in line and then whacking anyone who's actually conservative. These people are not radical. They just want to focus on conservative issues. I've even heard remaining MLAs are still getting in trouble for saying conservative things. That's the problem. That the wokies are still in the party. The people who are the woke bullies are still around, and they want you to stop talking, and they've kind of surrounded themselves around John Rusted in the leadership. By the way, these more liberal people are the ones who want to get rid of John right now. I'm not even kidding. There's about 4 or 5 MLAs that privately think that John's an idiot, and they want to get rid of him. They're none of the blue conservatives. They're all the liberal people. They all want to get rid of John, and I think what they've now done is they've tricked John into getting rid of Dallas for a stupid reason. He looks weak. He looks like he can't hold the party together. Now John can go, and now we can have someone even more liberal become the party leader. Maybe Amelia Boultbee. She seems like she knows, how to represent this conservative party, telling conservatives to not vote for her if they're at all like Dallas Brodie. I challenge Amelia Boultbee. She should put up a poll right now. She should put up a poll, see if people agree with more of her views or more of Dallas's. I don't think she'd like the result. But anyways, if you guys currently live in BC and you're BC Conservative members, I would just say don't donate to these people. They get to earn your donation. Do not donate to these people no matter how many emails they send you, because they have to earn your donation. They can't kick people out of caucus and then hold up the talking stick or touch the timeout tree and say, stop criticizing us. Stop criticizing us. Stop. We might have shot Dallas Brodie in the head metaphorically, and you're upset by it, but we need to get back to work. Stop annoying us. We don't want to talk. We don't want to talk about it. You are weak individuals. There are so many children running the BC Conservative HQ right now who are, let me say, severely overpaid. Like, you'd think it was theft if you saw the expenses. But that's it for me today, guys. This thing drives me up the wall because I want actual conservatism. It's not very much and not very little that I'm asking for. It is what we should be doing. It might feel difficult at times to do the right thing because the left is going to attack you for it. But if you can't stand up to them, get out of the game. Resign your seat. Let a by-election be held so a conservative can actually be in your seat. Amelia, you should go take a long vacation somewhere.